Hi, I'm Kathie from City of Tucson Parks and Recreation Department, and I teach the glass fusing classes, and today I'm going to show you a glass fusing technique that is called either Vitrafusion or fossil vitra. I've used the terms used interchangeably. It is a way of fusing organic material to the glass. The organic material does vaporize at the temperatures that glass is fused at, but not before it leaves a little impression in the glass. And if you put some powdered frit on there, then you get a really nice effect. Okay, here I have several examples. This one is sycamore leaves, just done on a green background. And I just put some green powdered frit on them and a little touch of yellow powdered frit to get this effect. This one here is a larger sycamore leaf and it is on black glass, and I just used brown and red frit. This example here is little slices of citrus fruit that I actually dried in the oven prior to using. They were a little bit thick. The leaves you can generally pick and use if they're flat. If they're not very flat, if they've got any kind of curl to them, you have to press them overnight. But the lemon and lime slices, I needed to dry in an oven for a couple of hours just to make sure they were going to vaporize in the kiln. And then I did put some frit on top of them to get the color. This example here is flowers. Flowers, they didn't turn out quite as well as I think the leaves and the fruit slices did, but it's still very interesting. Now the flowers, when I picked them, I did press them overnight, actually for several days before I used them. Okay, so in order to do this yourself, what you need is some 1/8 of an inch fiber paper. This fiber paper here has actually been used before, so you can reuse it for this technique. If you're going to reuse it and you want a very sleek surface, then you're going to have to roll that out with the rolling pin or some sort of heavy weight to smooth it out. I personally like using the pre-used kind, and I actually like to take my fingers and just kind of rough it up a little bit more to give it some more texture. Next thing you're going to need is some glass, and I've chosen to do my glass in a 6 by 6 inch square. You're going to need your organic material, and I've got some wonderful sycamore leaves that I picked, and these guys, well, sycamore leaves tend to be relatively flat and you can pick them and use them immediately. These guys I did flatten because we had a freeze and I was afraid they would not do so well in the freeze. The other thing you'll need is some cheap hairspray. You'll need some sifters. Having a few extra brushes around is always a good idea, and you're going to need some frit in various colors. This frit here is actually this is not a powdered, but then I have several powders. I have a red opal, orange opal, and marigold opal. And this one here is fine flame opal, and I'm going to try a little experiment with it. So what I've done at this point was I traced my glass on the paper, so I can now sit here and just lay out my design until I get something that I think looks halfway decent. So in my little 6 inch by 6 inch square, because that is the size of the glass that I'm using, I've arranged my leaves. You can move them around a little if you like. If you think that doesn't look quite good, you could change it. But now you know your general layout of what you're going to do. Okay, so if you've got used fiber paper, if you take your glass square, lay it on the fiber paper and just push it slightly, and lift up, you're going to get a lovely little imprint of your glass. So now I know where my leaves can go over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these leaves, I'm going to move my glass ever so slightly out of the way. Move that over. I want to spritz them lightly with my hairspray. It doesn't need to be, they don't need to be soaking wet. I just want something that's going to hold on a bit of the frit. Now, the other important thing to remember is if I'm going to put more than one color, which I am, whatever color I put down first is going to be on top, because the glass is going to stack on top of this. So I'm working from the top down. What I put on first is going to be on the very top when all is said and done. So what I'm going to do here, just on a few of these bigger ones, this is my little experiment. You know how sometimes some of the leaves have little red splotches, so I'm hoping I can get some little red splotches. Okay, now I'm sprinkling on some powdered frit. I'm using a small sifter. Now, in real life, I would recommend somebody wearing a dust mask, but if I put on a dust mask, you wouldn't understand a word I'm saying, so we'll just pretend I'm wearing a dust mask. And I'm putting red opal powdered frit down. And then I'm going to switch over, and I'll probably put a little bit of orange opal. So I'm done with that. And then when I'm done with the orange opal, I'm going to put yellow over the whole thing. So now this is yellow. And this is going to go over the entire leaf, so that what you should see when we put the glass on top is yellow leaves with a little bit of red and orange, and then some of the red spots on them. Okay, so now I've got that faint little outline over here, and I know how I've arranged them in this square. So now what I'm going to do is to try to carefully move them over in the way that they were. Okay, you can lift these over by hand, and some leaves are stiffer than others and actually will move better than others. Other times, it might help if you had a little spatula. And this is actually just a little enamel spatula. but it makes it easier to move. Some of them, you can see how it wants to kind of drip down. So sometimes it is easier, sometimes not. And now I've got them over roughly in the outline. Now what I'm going to do is take my glass and just lay it over in the little squares that I already had. Now it is possible that you're going to have things sticking out, but that's okay. It'll just go off the corner of the glass and it'll give more interest to your composition. And now we will full fuse this. Sometimes it's good if you have a nice long bubble squeeze on it, but it should do just fine. Okay, so that is how you do a fossil vitra or a vitrafusion in fused glass. We have many other projects that are available to learn in the fused glass class, and we have many other classes besides fused glass here at Parts and Recs. Come on down and join us.